So what are we doing on this beautiful 40-degree day in Western New York? Well, we're taking down the flag, and the Bills are actually handing things off to the contractor so we can start groundbreaking here on the new stadium. All right, folks, here we go.
All right, let's go ahead and get started.
The Pegulas wanted this stadium built for Buffalo. That was the overriding North Star for us, really from day one.
Built for Buffalo means different things to different people.
Where our community comes together on game days, celebrate the wins, enjoy each other's company, a place where people feel comfortable.
Ultimately, I think authenticity is paramount.
The stadium had to be designed in a way that it was all about watching the game of football. It's about the fans first.
How is the fan viewing the game? What's important to the fan that's going to the football game? The viewing experience within this stadium is football first.
You can do 360 around, and you're always able to see and hear.
There's a focus on the Bills, the product on the field.
It's a building that when you walk up to it, it's going to feel comfortable. And when you're inside of it, it's going to feel like you're clearly in Buffalo Bills Stadium.
There's nothing like it in the National Football League.
Whether it's a Western New York thing or it just feels like it's a Western New York thing, when we get together as friends, family, we gather together.
I hope it will attract fans, almost like a college game.
All these seats are really incredible, right on top of the action.
What we're hearing in some of the research that this has become a brand that's followed by millions.
We are a small market, but an increasingly predominant national and international brand.
People come from all over the country to see their team.
The days of us thinking ourselves as a small market are over. We're going to think of ourselves as an elite NFL franchise in the best city to play football.
Alrighty.
So we put the flag at the midfield. To me, that was another one that was kind of, wow, this is real.
It started with, we just want the surveyors out here so that we know where it is. And it grew into, do you think we can have Thurman take down the flag? And I said, that's great.
Where else would you want to be than right here, right now, right?
3 years from now, you'll be standing on turf. You'll be surrounded by this beautiful building, which is really cool.
The ultimate goal is to build the best football stadium for the Buffalo Bills in our Western New York community that provides us a tremendous home field advantage, allows us to win a lot of football games, and provides great memories for everyone in our community to enjoy Bills football.
They're going to feel the vibe in our new stadium, trust me.
All right, Bills Mafia, let the groundbreaking begin. All right, so we're gonna hang this up. So can you remind me of this date, all right?
This is the day we got to turn it over,
This is the day we got to turn it over,
Are
baby.
you going to help us out or what?
I'll help you out as much as I possibly can.
All right.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Good to see everybody. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, it's been nonstop, I would say, since March of 2021. Hours, impossible to calculate. Weeks, months, years.
More than any other 18 months of time in my career.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for all of us.
I dream about the job. Like I wake up in the middle of the night, sketch something out. It's crazy.
You're never not working on this project. You're never not thinking about it. Case in point, the new stadium has been a thought for a long time. You know, there's always been undertones in the community and people talking about what the future was.
There was a 17-year playoff drought, and you had 60,000 season ticket holders. This team means, a lot to the region. We're due.
Our current stadium, as we know, is one of the oldest venues in North American sports.
There's so many more fan amenities that are available in new facilities than there are in older facilities like ours. None of those things are really possible anymore at Highmark.
Talks had really started to pick up, and Ron was fully engaged at that point. He was looking for information that he could use in negotiations.
It's somewhat inefficient, but before we know how inefficient, let's not overextend the current construction.
Well, step one was, Kim and Terry giving us the green light to go and explore this.
We were having one conversation, and he said, you're interested in being part of this project? And I kind of looked at him and smiled, and I can't imagine not being part of this project. And that's when things really kicked off and got going.
Wasn't that glass? Wasn't it way back when
It was.
you could see in?
Yes.
I think the Buffalo Bills are very lucky to have two people like Frank and John.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine doing this project without the two of them. You know, Frank's creative vision, the trust that he has with Kim and Terry, being able to execute, being from Western New York. I can go on and on about how special his skill set is for our project, not the least of which he's immensely talented.
Which usually we don't have people on the owner side that can bring that perspective.
I've always loved to draw, to have a job where my drawing actually is making a difference. It all kind of starts with some of this crazy stuff. It's everywhere, so I'm taking notes, I'm making sketches of all of these dozens, hundreds of drawings. You know, maybe 1, 2, or 5 will really become exactly what I wanted it to be. And it's like anything else, you're just refining and refining and refining.
My background is I'm kind of the Imagineer here. I want to make this place authentic to Buffalo and special and beautiful, and you know, we have a vision with ownership to, you know, really make it unique.
I'll create the graphic, I'll create the space, and then I can render it out and just see what it would look like. This is a club. You're inside the club now, watching the players go by.
You know, Frank is, in that sense, white paper, the doodler, if you will.
Yeah.
Start drawing up what's it look like, right? That's certainly not what I do. The artistic or creative side of me, that's not it.
With John's background in construction, he's operationally driven.
John Polka is a total blessing. I mean, to have somebody on staff who has that type of construction experience, who's so good with people, understands all aspects of it, not just from our perspective, but also from the construction management team's perspective. He's really been beneficial in us getting as far as we have so far.
This is our visiting team stretching area now.
What was it before?
Storage.
Really?
So here they have two people kind of at the helm of administrating and facilitating this ginormous effort, right, that a stadium design and construction project is.
I'm in awe of some of the things that he does, and I think his knowledge of the building trades and all of that, pretty incredible.
This was the first 3D model that was printed on the project, and we evolved into this one that actually a little bit larger, shows the canopy, and then if we want to go MTV crib style, this one's our most recent model, getting a little larger yet, divided into sections, comes apart, and again, the detail on this one really starts to show you what the stadium's gonna look like.
Terry is an engineer by training, right? So John and Terry hit it off, you know, so they're very technical, your conversations, and he looks to John a lot. You know, we have weekly meetings, just like any big project, right? We have large group meetings, one's coming up.
I want to put a pin in this idea that we're going to need another field level club. I mean, there's no indication yet that that's going to be necessary to build out a club. I'm okay with looking at that entire space as substitute for the auxiliary building.
I think Ron's the face of this project and has been the face of this project really since the early discussions and inception. I'd say he's also the facilitator. Things need to get done, things need to move, things need to happen. You know, we're working collaboratively with him, but ultimately Ron is the one helping to move things out of the way to keep the project going.
To Ron's point, we have no idea what that's going to be. Events, football related, who knows what's coming down the road, and to not have it would be a problem.
It's extremely unique to have people within the ownership group who are empowered to make decisions on the project and informed enough to know that those decisions are going to be accurate and well received.
What were the issues with the current Highmark Stadium, and why could it not be just rehabbed or, you know, added on to?
How many hours do we have? As an outsider, as somebody who just comes to Highmark to experience game day, tailgate, meet up with friends, go in and hopefully cheer on a victory, I think that's a valid question, right? It serves the purpose. There was an analysis done to say, should we be looking at doing a major renovation?
It really made no financial sense whatsoever to upgrade the structure. To get 15 more years or so out of the existing stadium would have required a complete renovation of the upper deck.
The numbers to leave what was there, to remove the upper decks, build kind of around that became very high, you know, to a point where it's like, wow, it's going to cost that much to fix this place.
And that didn't count the electrical work that would have to be done, the ring wall, the fact that there's still only one tunnel.
That single tunnel is also the only field access from those spaces. So to get in and out of the field, as you've seen, we have, you know, both teams coming to the same area. We've got vehicles and other pedestrians that are, you know, coming down through that tunnel. So access is a major issue. You start pulling out the concourses to expand and make larger concourses. You start trying to create some form of a service level underneath the stadium that we don't have now. When you're done pulling all those parts and pieces away, what were you left with? And the answer was not a lot. By the time you were done, you were almost building a new facility. You were just doing it on the footprint of the existing one.
The beauty of how we approach the new stadium is we didn't go in with any preconceived notions. We really let our conversations take us to where we were.
Step one of really getting engaged in this process was let's go build the team.
So we ran a very open and thorough process when it came to choosing an architect. And ultimately, Populous was chosen because they're the best. They understood what we were trying to accomplish. Obviously, Scott and his team have been part of many projects with the Pegulas and the Bills throughout the years.
You just feel the vibe. They have a good business, and you can tell that people like to work there.
They understood and listened to what we were trying to build, how we can incorporate that.
So today we're going to be going through a host of updates. My name is Scott Radecic, and I am one of the founding partners of Populous. I'm the project executive for our design team, and I also had the great privilege of playing 12 years in the National Football League before my architectural career began. We're going to be talking about changes to the seating bowl. We're going to be talking about changes to some of the premium seating. What I think is unique about designing a stadium in Buffalo is the fact that I played here. Every time I come back to Buffalo, I feel like I'm coming home. And when you're working for your family, sometimes there's a little bit more pressure on you. There's a difference between just doing a project and then something that's personal, and this stadium's personal.
You know, Scott Radecic, very humble guy. He treats his people right. The other thing about Scott is he tells the truth and he's very upfront. I don't think he could tell a lie if he tried to.
We're going to be looking at the continual evolution of the exterior design of the building and the site. And that's going to really take us most of the day today.
So we had RFP process for the design team, ultimately selected Populous. RFP process for the construction manager, ultimately selected Gilbane Turner. We also had selected Legends as our project manager, owner's rep. So that kind of built out the team. In the middle there is an area where I think I would give a lot of credit to Populous and Legends for impressing on us the importance of a visioning session and really set the tone for the entire project.
A lot of people from the Bills organization, ownership were there. And so we just threw hundreds of ideas and words and terminology of what do we want it to be? What does it feel like? What is our goals?
You know, what do they love about Buffalo, and what do they love about their fans, and what are their aspirations for this? And then from that conversation, that's how we came up with the guiding principles. From the very beginning of our project, we've always been talking about people and place. We've always been talking about how this building will continue to enhance the culture of your team and how it's also something that looks to the future.
You know, fostering a culture and building the future are kind of the big elements that came from that.
I mean, it's like building a house. You want your house to be how you live. We want the stadium to be how our fans in our community can celebrate Bills football. And so we wanted to make sure that those guiding principles were always a part of what we did.
That's when the vision started to come to fruition. For the two of us, then it was, hit the road, go out there and see what can we learn.
Those trips are invaluable. It helps to establish a benchmark of understanding what are in stadiums, but you never know what elements of a stadium resonate with the ownership until you walk through it with them.
We learned a lot from, obviously, football stadiums, but we went to soccer facilities, research into colleges, that this doesn't need to be a SoFi scale building. So we were looking in different areas, but there was a lot of that, a lot of meeting with people, newer stadium, what'd you get wrong? That was one of the first things that we would ask, what would you do over?
In our travels, we were at a stadium and Terry commented on the fact that in one of the levels, you could not see the scoreboard. If there was a punt, you couldn't see the punt.
Right.
And yeah, he was like, I specifically said, I don't want this in our new stadium. So sightlines have definitely been a conversation.
For the two of us, that was kind of the starting point, the jumping off point.
People always ask, are you modeled after a stadium in particular?
The visit to Tottenham happened in late February of 2022 and was a real turning point, I think, in this whole process.
I think collectively as a group, everybody gravitated towards, there are a lot of things that we like here.
The attention to detail in construction and the cleanliness and quality and craftsmanship.
Tottenham was so close to everything that we wanted. It was built by Populous as the architect. While it wasn't a football-only facility, it had unbelievable football sight lines.
No matter where you sat in the stadium, you had an unbelievable view of the pitch. And at one point, Terry actually wanted to go out and said, show me the worst seat in the place, the highest seat, corner, whatever. That's a very Buffalo thing, right? He wanted to know what was the view of the field, of the pitch in that example.
I got this idea from Garth Brooks. I read that when he used to have a concert, he would go sit the furthest fan away because he wanted to communicate with that fan during the concert. So I went and sat in the 3 worst seats supposedly in the stadium, and I thought they were great seats.
He said, that was a great seat. If that's the worst seat, that's a great seat in the house.
So I think our fans are going to be real excited to be in a stadium that's really fan-friendly.
We were all over the place, and kind of at the end of 5 or 6 hours of walking and touring the facility, he basically said to Scott Radecic, okay, now build me this in Buffalo.
You're looking from Family Circle, looking kind of from the northeast across to the north end of the building. The tour was really successful to understand what was important to him and then make it built for Buffalo. Again, just want to set the stage for how the project is coming along.
Our design is unique in that it took a lot of different aspects of different facilities that we saw and feedback that we got from our peers around the league. And we tried to mold that and bring that together into something that is truly Buffalo.
The best thing that the Buffalo Bills can do to enhance economic vitality in our community is win football games. So what we can control is the place that we play and the amenities that are around that. And that's why it's really built for football.
That is what people are going to know this stadium for.
Another approach that we took is taking the deeper dive into the avidity of the fan base.
Legends did a lot of focus groups. I think they had 13,000 respondents to that.
The surveys were critical to this entire process.
The more they're involved, the more the stadium is going to represent this area and our fan base.
Tailgating was an aspect that the fans kept telling us was critical to their enjoyment of Bills football. Tailgating is going to be enhanced in the new stadium. It'll be nicer parking lots. It'll be more organized. The ingress and egress will be much more beneficial for fans. The sight lines were critically important, right? Someplace you want to go and watch a game. To do that, you have to bring the seats closer to the field.
And what we've done is we've taken all the concessions, all the restrooms, and pushed those out to the perimeter.
I can't remember, do they go all the way around the stadium? Can you walk a circle? Or?
Yes, you can go 360 degrees on both levels, and while you walk around the stadium, you can always see the field.
In some early designs, we were short on some club seat opportunities. Populous came back with a couple options, and one of those options was to put a club higher up than would normally be expected.
We got the suites right here, number 5, as well as we get into the upper concourse here, number 7.
Part of our team was looking at it and said, I don't know if that's going to work. Frank and I looked at it and said, that's going to be your highest selling area. Buffalo fans are coming to the game to watch the game. They want a view of the field, and that club that you're showing there is going to have the best view of the field in the entire stadium. So I think that's at the epicenter of football first. We're breaking the rules in some regards, but I think there couldn't be a more defining area to say one of our most premium areas is where you're going to have the best view of the field.
Here's football first for example. If you build the stadium to have a FIFA World Cup or an actual soccer match, it literally changes the shape of the building. It will change in a lot of different ways, and one of that is that it just won't be as loud. Football, your fans are tighter, it's taller, it's louder, it's more intimidating. There are facilities out there that have done that, and it just fundamentally changed the experience.
The current building slopes way out. This building just comes right up.
The stack design. Our fans overwhelmingly in our surveys talked about wanting to find places to be warm and somewhat covered from the elements. Stack design allows us to have 65% coverage of all the seats.
There are fans in Buffalo who want to be as low and as close to the action and they're fine. They're okay sitting in the snow or sitting in the rain. Like, that's part of the experience, right? So I don't want to take that away from everybody, right? But there are people, when we went into the market and we were asking fans what they wanted, they said, it'd be nice to be dry and it would be nice to be warm.
One of the stories that struck me that we heard was if you had a seat in the 300 level at the current stadium, you would stay in your car, get warmed up, because you knew the next time that you could have heat was when you got back into your car after the game, right? So stories like that, it's like, wow.
It's completely covered by a cantilevered seating deck above it. So if it's raining, these people are dry. If it's snowing, these people are dry. We have some distribution of heaters overhead, so it'll be warmer than other places.
I get a lot of conversation with other owners. You're going to have a dome on your stadium. I said no, and they would go, gosh.
You know, we're celebrating what the region is. We're celebrating our culture, and the weather is part of that. I know that there's a lot of opinions on this, but I think it really came down to natural grass, open air stadium.
We're Buffalo, and we're going to play football outside.
I think we, our team and our fans, can adapt more to the weather than our opposition.
We want it to be loud, tough, intimidating.
We wanted to create the toughest place for visiting teams to come and play, but also a place where every player wished they played. It became very personal, and I think when you look at those things that we're most focused on, it is highly personal, it is highly local, and it is highly specific to the Pegulas first, to the organization, and obviously to the community.
But we're going to start with the Erie County Legislature, maybe wanted to call it a touchdown, approving a multi-million-dollar deal that should keep the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park for the next 30 years and build a new stadium.
The land where the new stadium is going to go is part of the current footprint that we have today. There's a little additional land that was part of ECC South's campus, but because the county and the state together own the facility, it was easy to acquire that land. There were a lot of ups and downs during that process, but we always knew it was going to be a public-private partnership. The league office and the commissioner himself were instrumental in helping us in that process.
Roger really helped us a lot. Having gone through this process with stadiums several times before, he was a great person to lean on. We really appreciate what he and his staff did for us.
You know, it took a lot of time, but we were really pleased with the deal that we struck, and we think this has mutual benefit for us and our public sector partners.
I think from a construction perspective, the hardest part of any project is to get started. Groundbreaking really represents the start of the project.
Hello everyone, welcome to the much anticipated groundbreaking ceremony.
Early in the design process, when somebody asks you how often do they have to be available or how many decisions you have to be made, you almost don't want to tell them you're going to make tens of thousands of decisions, right? But you're just going to take them one day at a time.
We are here today because of the countless hours of hard work that so many of you put in for this stadium to become a reality.
One day becomes 2 days, becomes 1 month, becomes 2 months, and next thing you know, you're breaking ground.
The attention to detail, it is everything. It's overwhelming. Just to keep it all straight requires an unbelievable team of people. Populous, legends, Turner Gilbane, the John Polkas of the world, the Frank Cravottas of the world, and everybody else that's involved in this project. It takes all of us to really keep this thing on track, and it starts with the Pegulas.
Their efforts have revitalized Western New York, and this stadium will be a part of that revitalization.
You know, every step of the way, it's been incredible. You know, again, from Buffalonian, obviously a Bills fan, Sabres fan. When that steel starts going up, I think people are really going to be blown away.
It's going to be emotional for all of us. Players, staff, fans, community, we've all experienced unbelievable moments at the current stadium, and it'll be hard to say goodbye to it, but it's really exciting about what we're moving into.
This is an extraordinary community. They deserve an extraordinary stadium. The Bills are now secured in Western New York, and that's something that we should all take great pride in.
You know, we have over 10 million identifiable Bills fans coming from all over to see the Bills play at home and on the road.
Everyone goes to Nashville or go to Vegas, whatever it is, to make their pilgrimage. They're going to come here now.
This place is not going to just represent a fantastic state-of-the-art facility. It does represent dreams to be realized and memories to be made and stories to be told. And of course, many, many victories to be celebrated.
I think this project really is transformative. I think it's a place where our fans and our community will come to celebrate.
I look at it as we have one opportunity to make sure that this building is set up to withstand the next 40 or 50 years.
I want people to be comfortable. I want them to be in awe I want them to want to come back. It's only going to get better.
Groundbreaking, I really think it's just one more step in the process.
I can't wait till it's actually done, it's built, people are in it, and we can look back and say, remember what we did years ago when we had this idea?
It's going to be one in a series of great moments.
Some people think just because you tear a stadium down that you're going to forget about it.
So let me get this straight. We're going to build a stadium here, and we're going to tear down a stadium over there that's full of memories. This is for real!
My biggest memory of our current Highmark Stadium is standing on the field the first day, the first game with my family. You know, I'll never forget that. The first thing that came into my mind was, gee whiz, Ralph owned this team for 54 years, and this is like my first day. How do I equal that? And the answer is you don't.
You had that line where you said,
Ralph, we're moving across the street.
Ralph.
What would he say to that, Mary? Huh? And don't start crying. You get me crying.
I never met Ralph Wilson, but I wanted to let him know that his team is staying in Buffalo because that was one of his wishes.
This site where we have gathered has been the location of Buffalo Bills games for the last 50 years. At the conclusion of the new lease, the Bills will be playing on this property for 83 years. We need to fill this stadium with more memories and continue our legacy. We should remember the past, but embrace the building of our future.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? But this place is absolutely gorgeous.
It is pandemonium. It is fantastic.